Oh, Lord. Yeah. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today in this video, we're going to be taking a look at this monstrosity of a printer. So this is way outside of my knowledge base and way outside of anything that I remotely know about when it comes to vintage computing, but should still be a lot of fun because these things are kind of a neat thing, neat if not almost useless part of retro computing, but yeah, let's just dive into it. Okay, so a little bit of context here. This is the Tandy DWP-230 daisy wheel printer. This I got with the Tandy haul I got a couple months ago that had the 1000HX, the external printer, the external drive, the Coco 2, and a bunch of other stuff for the Tandy. And I have been hesitant to dive into this thing because I don't know anything about printers like at all. And vintage printers are they're just something that when you research them, you can either find a crap ton of information on, like the ImageWriter 2, or you can find hardly any information on, like this one. I have found a little bit of information in terms of some parts and hardware this thing was used and what some of its capabilities. For the most part, vintage printers are kind of a niche thing when it comes to retro computing. They're important because they were important. Everybody had a printer for their computer back in the day. It was just something you needed to have if you wanted to have a hard copy of what you had on your screen. This one's really different in a lot of ways, and let's just unbox it and I'll show you why. So the main reason why I'm making a video about this is because this is technically the final piece of the setup for the Tandy 1000HX. It has the external drive, which works, the main unit works, the monitor works, and this was something that came with it, and I kind of want to mess with it and see if I can get it to work. And yeah, that's kind of the main reason, is that it's the final piece of that puzzle. It's not very often that people have a full setup for their retro vintage computers. With Apple, it's one thing that's different because these were so ubiquitous with the Apple II. It's hard not to imagine them with them, and they still work. You can still find parts to them to this day. But most printers, like I said, it's finding parts for them and information is kind of a challenge. And yeah, what makes this one different is its sheer size. And it's not just the box that's big. I mean, look at the size of this printer. This thing's huge. But yeah, look at this thing. This thing is enormous. So I did a little bit of research leading up to this video, at least what I could find. And this is the Tandy DWP-230, or daisy wheel printer model 230. And as the name implies, this is a daisy wheel printer, which is basically a alphanumeric disk of different fonts and font sizes that spin, and a hammer hits it and puts it to the paper. And this thing takes, believe it or not, a 16-inch wide piece of paper. That is essentially 2 standard size sheets of standard A4 paper side by side, overlapping maybe an inch. Because yeah, here's the guides are right here. This is a huge thing. I have never seen a printer this size before. I've seen some ones this big before, not in person. I've seen some in videos, like Usagi Electric restored that one for his mini computer, which was a serial-based printer, and it had a huge platen as well, and it was tractor feed and all that kind of stuff, and it was absurdly cool seeing it work. But this thing, it was a consumer level thing that somebody could go into like a Kmart or Target or Walmart today and buy one like this. And it's just absurdly huge. And I'm gonna get some better close-up shots of this thing to show how it is very dirty and very yellowed, and it just has a lot of cool, neat stuff. But yeah, to put this in perspective how big this thing is, this is the standard size, and here is the ImageWriter 2. It dwarfs this thing by a considerable margin. And even this little Texas Instruments impact printer that I've showed in a previous video is dwarfed by this thing. And this was a very common printer back in the day. A little bit of information with this one. This is the Texas Instruments impact printer. This is a rebranded Epson MX80, which was also a IBM 5152. So you can kind of see this is a very common printer from back in the day, and this thing just absolutely, it's like half the size of this printer. This is awesome. We're going to be going in and plugging this into the Tandy 1000HX, seeing if it even works before I do anything to it, and if it does, then we'll give it a good cleaning and restoration, and if it doesn't, well, I'll still give it a little bit of a cleaning, just because, make it look a little bit better. That way it can be set up next to it and look cool. So let's get some close-up shots of this thing and go from there. Okay, so I've got the Tandy 1000HX here all plugged in, and I've got the printer kind of set up over here on this desk that I'm using for some software storage. So yeah, let's get it plugged in and kind of see what happens. Maybe it needs to detect power from the Tandy. Yeah, no, it didn't. It didn't power on. Okay. Well, there's probably something going on. Well, it does have, maybe it does have paper in it. Maybe it just doesn't have paper in it. Okay, well, that didn't do it. Okay, well, that's not good. Okay, so I'm back, and I kind of forgot that with all this, this was actually in with a lot of the stuff that I picked up, and it's actually the operations manual for it. And this is the catalog number, in case anyone's wondering. The catalog number is 26-28-12. But anyway, that's not the power switch. The power switch is I just saw it somewhere. Yeah, it's on the side here, so it should be on this side. So I should be able to online. All right. I need something to print with this though. So I'm going to. How do I print from DOS? I think version 2.11 you could print stuff from just from hitting print screen. So I'm going to just read the content of the directory of a floppy drive or floppy disk. And see if I can print that. Okay, so that's the text on the screen here. I have some Planet X3. I have the version DOS. So we're just going to see if this will print. And it should be if I hit print. So it's not print. Is it shift print? Oh. That thing go. actually really cool. It's double spaced. I don't know why. That's probably some kind of setting though. But hey, that's awesome. This printer works. All right. I'm gonna get it unplugged and give it a good cleaning and see how good we can make this thing look. So yeah, this thing turned out phenomenally well, and it worked basically first shot. Okay, yeah, when I first switched the switch here and it didn't power on, I mistook the online switch as the power switch, and if I would have just taken a few more seconds and just looked around this thing for an actual proper power switch instead of spending about 20-25 minutes trying to find that freaking manual to read and find it, if I would just use my eyeballs, I would have seen the power switch. But yeah, this thing worked basically first shot. It connected just fine, and it printed flawlessly. The text was nice and crisp. Yeah, it was double spaced, which that might just be a switch setting or some sort of weird tweak I got to do with this thing, that might actually be involved with this uh, pitch switch up here. I actually don't know, but yeah, this thing worked beautifully, and it printed beautifully too. Like you saw it, the text was nice and crisp, which is a benefit of the daisy wheel printers. They're basically an impact style printer. They're not dot matrix where it has a bunch of dots. It's actually a physical alphanumeric symbol that gets hammered to the paper, and it's like a typewriter. It's very crisp text, and that's what made these so desirable for text printing. So yeah, I'm actually very happy with the way this turned out. It's still very yellowed. It didn't clean up nearly as well as the computer or the monitor or the Tandy drive did. But still, regardless of it being a little bit yellowed, it's a fully working daisy wheel impact printer, and it sounded so cool working. I was actually wanting to know what this sounded like. You hear it on videos, but to hear it actually in person, it sounds just so cool. And I can't wait to use this thing a little bit more. With all that said, I am still kind of curious about what this thing was used for and what were they using it for, to be honest. Because this wasn't a common printer size to have. And the only thing I could find, because 16-inch wide paper is a very wide, unusual shaped paper. You can buy it new still, both in tractor feed and plain roller type. But 16-inch wide is a very strange paper. And when I was looking it up to try and figure out what these type of printers were used for, they were very commonly used with text publications. Essentially, is you'd set up the paper you want to print, it would print it out, and then you would fold it in half, so it'd be like a leaflet or a booklet, like for gatherings, get-togethers, meetings, which might explain a lot with this thing, which might be a bit of a clue, because when I put in the DeskMate floppies, there was a text file that said church. So it's possible for whoever was using this thing was using it for church stuff, printing out like pamphlets or like minutes of what happened, what's going to happen in a church. I don't know. It's still a really cool printer, even though it's ungodly, almost unwieldy. In fact, I barely fit it on the desk and everyone was testing it out, but it still worked just fine, and it worked. It's just so cool. I'm really excited about this because printers are not usually something I keep in terms of retro computing stuff. Usually this stuff gets I recycle or toss out. Not the 80s ones. No, I don't toss these out. But the late 90s, early 2000s ones, I tend to just get rid of. But yeah, and one of the main reasons why I don't keep printers of the 90s and early 2000s is because trying to find toner, ink, parts, drivers anymore is almost impossible to find unless you have the actual driver disk. And even then, you would almost need a actual retro, outdated OS-based computer to even use them, which, yeah, no problem for me. But at the same time, a lot of people just don't have ways of doing that. And even in virtual machines, a lot of times those printer driver software stuff just doesn't work. Yeah, I don't usually keep printers because, like I said, these are kind of outside of my scope of trying to figure out, diagnose, because if something doesn't work, a lot of times finding documentation on them's not all that easy to do. And this one's a kind of a prime example of that. When I type in the Tandy DWP series, it comes up with the smaller variants of these, the standard 8-inch ones. And the 230 is just kind of a footnote one where I did find some information. It uses the Diablo, I believe, 60 daisy wheel set. So I can swap out the daisy wheel fonts and sizes and stuff for some different, printing jobs. And apparently you can still find these ink ribbons for sale for not too much money. So realistically, this printer can be fully operational down here alongside the Image Writer 2 and any other 80s printer that I decide to try out. So I'm actually really happy about this because I basically have a fully complete retro computer setup from monitor to printer. I can play games, I can type text documents, just for funsies, and I can even print them out as hard copy. And it's one of those silly little things, but it's still a heck of a lot of fun. But yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching this video. Really hope you enjoyed this test and cleaning, not really restoration, just cleaning of this massively oversized Tandy printer. If you've used one of these things, seen one in action, or even know what these massive platinum printers were for, I mean, like I said before, 16 inches is a very unusual size to find. Most of the ones I've ever found were all for either standard tractor feed or standard A4 paper. So to see one that's basically double that width is, it's almost overkill. I really want to know what these things were for. So if you've ever used one, have one, any information like that, please let me know. If you know of anywhere where I can find the actual daisy wheels for this, like the Diablo, I think the Diablo 60, Diablo 90 compatible daisy wheels, hit me up on the social medias or down in the comments or something, because I think it'd be kind of fun to try some different fonts on this. And you'll be seeing this thing set up with the Tandy 1000HX in the computer room somewhere. I'm going to have to find somewhere to put this thing so it's not in the way and taking up space, because I plan on using this thing a little bit more in the future for printing out some neat things. In fact, I might actually be using this to print some text-based stuff as like thank you notes, or perhaps list of subscribers, or maybe future Patreons. If I ever decide to do a Patreon, I could do this to print out the hard copy for the thank yous. That may kind of need to do. But anyway, again, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.